Hundreds of thousands of Iranians have turned out to pay their last respects to General Qasem Soleimani. The US has justified his assassination, saying he was not only responsible for killing hundreds of American personnel, but had also been planning more attacks. For many Iranians, however, the leader of the military's Quds force is a national hero, and they want revenge.
Stupid Trump. A symbol of stupidity and a toy in the hand of Zionism. Don't think that with the martyrdom of my father, everything is over.
It's a sentiment shared by the government, and its first response has been to take the final step away from the 2015 deal that aimed to limit its nuclear development program. Tehran says it no longer faces restrictions in enriching uranium. It will resume injecting enriched uranium into centrifuges, and it will raise funding for research and development. Tehran is also threatening to hit back at the US, prompting warnings of a disproportionate response from Washington. US President Donald Trump's also threatening to sanction Iraq after it demanded American troops leave the country.
We will charge them sanctions like they've never seen before, ever. It'll make Iranian sanctions look somewhat tame. Iraq's government would have to pay Washington for the cost of the very extraordinarily expensive airbase there.
Some analysts say Tehran may target US allies in the region, like Saudi Arabia, disrupting global oil supplies.
About a fifth of the world's total oil production comes from the countries that border around the Strait of Hormuz. So if there is any disruption to flows of crude coming out of that region, then that would necessarily put a lot of upward pressure on prices.
In a joint statement, Germany, France, and the UK are calling on all parties to preserve the 2015 nuclear deal and cease hostilities. The leaders of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and other countries are also calling for calm. But the war drums are beating in Tehran and Washington, threatening not just global markets, but peace in the Middle East. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
And for more on this, Nader Habibi joins us now from Waltham, Massachusetts. He's a professor of practice in the economics of the Middle East at Brandeis University. Welcome back to the program, Nader. Now, it sounds like Iran has completely abandoned the landmark 2015 nuclear deal, but the agreement was already weakened, wasn't it, after the US decided to pull out of it? So how significant is Tehran's latest announcement then?
It is significant, as you mentioned. The Iranians began to take several steps during past 15 months after the unilateral withdrawal of the United States. But this is important because it comes at a time when tensions are also very high. And I believe Europeans are trying to still preserve the agreement. And at this level, I think this is still a posture, and there is opportunity to reverse this if there is a significant agreement and cooperation by Europeans in current circumstances.
And of course, the idea behind the 2015 deal was that economic sanctions against Iran would be lifted in return for, I guess, Tehran scaling back its nuclear activities. Do you think this is still possible then? The fact that the US has now obviously quit the deal, is the deal still salvageable?
Not a deal that includes the United States, but the remaining other members of the JCPOA agreement might be able to keep Iran in cooperation and agreement if they activate a financial instrument called Instax, which is supposed to help Iran make purchases. But even that will not fully satisfy Iran because the US pressure on the rest of the world has reduced Iran's sale of crude oil to a very minimal amount, practically at a level that is not sufficient to sustain Iranian economy, and it is under pressure. So there is a lot of uncertainty, and given the recent developments, the chance of saving the nuclear agreement is even smaller moving forward.
Now, Iran's economy, as we know, has been severely crippled by the Trump administration's decision to reimpose sanctions on the country. Can Tehran afford a potential conflict then with the US over Soleimani's assassination?
Well, a fully military confrontation would be very costly to Iran. I don't think Iranian leaders have any illusion about the balance of power between Iran and the United States. But the current circumstances have put so much pressure on Iranians after the assassination of Major Soleimani that they have to take some kind of measure, some kind of response. Most likely, Iran will avoid a direct military confrontation with the United States while trying to show some response.
Now, Iraq has threatened to expel US troops
Yes.
in the wake of Soleimani's assassination. Now, Donald Trump has threatened sanctions if they do follow through on that. Do you think Baghdad then will kick US troops out of the countries, and what are the consequences of that?
Well, as you know, there are many factions in Iraq, and how the current government in Iraq is going to implement this law of expelling the American troops is not clear. But obviously, they will try to initiate that, and I think the rising sporadic attacks on U.S. military assets in Iraq would also cause some perhaps tendency to reduce those troops. But it is very uncertain at the moment how Iraqis can act and how the U.S. would respond. These are all happening so fast, and there is a lot of uncertainty, although there is also a lot of risk in the region.
There sure is. Nader Habibi, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your analysis on this very sensitive issue. Thank you.